everybody. Matt Brunell here, and I am excited to have my first 2026 ClickBid. I wanted to kick off a little bit this year with, some of the stuff that I've been learning with agentic coding. I know it's pretty specific, especially for a nonprofit software company, AI, a little bit off topic. But then again, it's what I spend 90% of my week on. I get to actually act and think like a futurist because my team is so good at what they do, and I get to brag on them a little bit, that I get to spend my time working in agentic software development and, learning about best use cases, not necessarily related to software and so on. But one of the things I've been working on, and I like to, again, I want to try to talk from experience. I also want to stick to my notes so that I don't, this is like the fourth time I've tried to record this, and I find myself getting completely lost and thinking this is terrible, but I'm going to try to stay focused this time. I want to talk a little bit about from experience and, not necessarily give suggestions, but just really from my experience. And hopefully this can help resonate with some people if they're trying to insert AI into their company or their nonprofit. Some of the things that I've learned can be really hopefully helpful. And you can make your own decisions and you can say, I'll do it better than Matt, or I'm glad he saved me that time. So I think, the big discussion I'm seeing right now in AI is that it's really just not performing. AI today is extremely expensive. Companies like OpenAI and Anthropic are throwing billions and billions of dollars into these platforms, and they're trying to acquire customers. And frankly, the membership fees that I pay for ChatGPT, Anthropic, Gemini don't even cover the use that I get out of it. So it costs these companies more money than I'm paying them for me to do the work that I'm doing. And that really has led, from what I've seen, organizations to hype. The next big thing, Claude 4.7, Gemini 5.5, these things that are coming out. And then it gives me a sense of FOMO, fear of missing out, where I should go over to ChatGPT for a while and let it do some coding for me. I should experiment and see if Gemini 3 Pro is going to do a better job of solving this code problem. A couple of things that I've experienced that have made that bad is that, one, I'm just kind of following the hype engine, and I really shouldn't be doing that. The amount of progress that these AI models are making are very much in parity. We're talking a few percentage points better than the other one. And there's so much time that I've wasted trying to try this and then jump over to that. And let's do a side-by-side software development kickoff. It's like, why? What I need to be working on, and what I've found myself needing to work on, is how do I get better at using AI? Because again, in my notes, I wrote that I read somewhere that 5% of organizations are reporting today that they're getting a return on investment of their spend. Now, even if that's off by 10 points, 15%, that's still such a low rate of ROI a year into starting to invest. I would say early 2025, people were investing in AI tools I wouldn't say if I went out and bought a ChatGPT team license and gave it to 5 of my staff, that's really me investing in AI or hoping I get a good return, because I don't think people know how to use it. And I don't, beyond just asking some fun questions and getting these really kind of magical responses that seem like, wow, how did you know that was the right answer? Well, it's all context engineering. And the more that you put into these engines, the more that they retain and the better their answers get. It's kind of like a magician who, when they get up on stage, they're reading somebody's mail. Like they point somebody out in the room randomly and they say, oh, I'll bet you're dealing with so-and-so and such and such. And people are like, that's incredible. How did you know that? Well, it's because that person was kind of lingering around the room before the show started, or they had somebody lingering around the room, kind of picking up on interesting stories. And they said, okay, when you get up there, randomly pick that person to start talking about this thing that I heard them say before the event started. So it's all context. These models are building context, and then their responses just continue to get better. Well, that's a good kind of starting point. So for instance, if an AI can learn about my writing style, we've heard and seen that a lot. How can I write a better blog article? Well, that's good and it'll get you a good start. But I think what people need to learn, and what I've needed to learn, and then I said I wouldn't give advice. So what I have needed to learn from my experience is that the tool, every employee or every manager or every CEO or anybody has a set of tools that they use every day to get their jobs done, whether it's a laptop or a microphone or a pencil, a pen, a style, whatever. And I don't use a pencil the same way that I use a laptop. Now I can still accomplish similar things by, I'm going to write some notes down, or I'm going to use my Remarkable to write some notes down electronically, or I'm going to open up a Google Doc and type some notes down. But I'm using the tools differently. And I think what I've learned from AI is I really have to teach myself how to use the tool differently than just throw something at it and get a response. Because yes, many, many times when I do ask, you know, chat or a Claude code for some code or some, updates or to find a bug, it does an exceptionally good job. But because it is a predictive engine, I cannot guarantee that every time I ask a question, it's going to give me that response that I want. It could be terrible advice, or it could be the worst possible response. Or if I tell it to fix code, it just says, you know what, I'll fix this code, I'll just delete it. So, what I have to learn is how to use the tool more effectively. When I start branching off and all of these other updates, I lose sight of using the tool that I have in front of me and I won't get better at it. So, what I've had to learn is, Matt, pick a dang AI model and stick with it. Probably could have said that a lot faster. But, for the team, I really like Claude or Anthropic. I know they're trying to change their name to just Claude, but I really like that tool. I think they really put safety, security as a priority. They all say they do, but my personal preference is that I think Claude is doing the best job of it. And when I have worked with Claude Code, that's the most I've used of any AI tool, and I'm getting great consistent results from it. Yes, I definitely take 2 steps back once in a while, but that's okay. I remember when I was writing ClickBid for the first time back in, I don't know, it was, man, 2002. So what, 24 years ago? Yeah, I mean, the I can't hold AI to, but for me to say that, well, AI blew it because they didn't put the right object in the right, you know, and they didn't call the right object, or this class didn't have the right definition or the right setter. You should have seen the stuff I was writing back in 2002. It was dinosaur. It was terrible. It didn't, even for the time, it wasn't working that great. I mean, I had to apologize for all kinds of crazy things that was getting written, but it worked and it got the job done. And so what I'm finding is, now I can learn how to work with Claude Code. Even when it makes mistakes, I'm learning how to adapt and fix and move forward. I'm also learning how to stop trusting AI. I think it needs to be a trustless kind of relationship. When I ask AI to do something, of course it's going to be the next greatest thing. Of course it's going to be a good, outcome. Thanks, Claude, for being so optimistic. But one of the things that Claude Code does that I really like is that it waits for approval. So when it wants to do something, it gives you a little bit of a snippet of what it wants to do. And then it says, can I do this? And you can give it permission to do it. And so what's really nice is it gives me a chance to look at what it's doing. Since I know enough about programming to know what I'm looking at and to read the code, I can say, hold on a second. And this just happened to me earlier today. Now I'm using Claude Code with my developers at ClickBid. It's very basic. It's very introductory. So, just because I want to be careful, I want to take my time and really slowly work my way into it. But my senior devs are amazing. The stuff they're building, the stuff they're maintaining is incredible. Now comes this new software developer called Claude, and it wants to start changing this class, this model, this resource. And what I have to do, is, knowing what I know about code, is I have to say, whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, you want to change these files. Is there another way to do it that doesn't destroy or modify the underlying technology that's been tested, validated, verified? And then, yes, Claude will come back and say, that's a great observation. And I'm thinking, yeah, well, if it's so great, why didn't you do it in the first place? So that's why I think you just need to have a trustless experience, so that when Claude gives me a response, I challenge it. I need it to be verified. I need it to make sense to me. I need to ensure that it's not going to break something that is working just fine today. We call that a breaking change. And I've learned, because I stick with one platform, that I can ask AI, hey, now what I want you to do is look at this repository or this branch, and I want you to look at the master branch, and I want you to take a look at the code changes and give me a report on any breaking changes. Now, it's going to give me a very wordy summary. It's going to look good. It's going to sound good. It's going to feel professional, but I don't want to trust it. I want to look at that and say, okay, thank you, Claude. Now I'm going to read through it and I'm going to question all of the things that it says. That's probably not completely true. Oh, gosh, I didn't think of that. So now I need to go back and ask Claude to revert that. And then let's come up with a different solution that's less intrusive. So again, it's me using the AI in a way that works for me. I know where my code level is at, and it's very different than the people that I work side by side with now that I've introduced some of this into our platform slowly. I have to make sure that I don't just run them over like a steamroller or a bull in a china shop. I need to learn that I have to Claude isn't going to learn this. I have to force Claude in the way that I use it to make sure that it works well with the other developers. They've built a standard. They've taken years to get this code to a place where it's very well orchestrated and architected. And then an AI tool comes along and just throws it all up in the air. AI is having a hard time being adopted because it comes in, somebody thinks they're going to one-shot this prompt and say, I need you to build a feature that does this, this, and this. The question isn't, is AI going to build something? The question is, did it do what I wanted? And did it disrupt what's already there? Even if it didn't do what I wanted, it's a bigger deal that it messed up all of this existing stuff that I had in my software. Now, let's take it out of the context of software development. Maybe that's too nerd for, for what this discussion should be. As a nonprofit leader, I don't need to mess around with software development. The parallels from what I've seen is it's the same when I'm trying to introduce, for instance, deep research. When I will take a financial statement. So in my world, I look at monthly financial statements, and I am not, if you knew me, you would laugh because I'm probably not going to do enough justice, but I'm not a financial person at all. And so I will spend in our monthly financial meeting, I'll spend all this time asking questions about, this, that, what does this term mean? I don't remember this. And they're like, yeah, well, when you asked it last month, Matt, I answered it like, so what I can do is I can take that document and I can ask Claude in my account, okay, give me the basics. Now, Claude retains those histories and it can go back and look at the memory and it can grab that as context and it can say, oh, based on last time we did this, this is, these are the numbers you want. Now, again, this is different. I'm not coming at this like I come at it as a developer. As a developer, I have a lot more knowledge than I do as a finance person. So what I had to look at was, okay, well, my finance person is a lot like my software developers. They're not going to use Claude to do that. In fact, they're probably going to cringe the fact that I do that because they're like, why would you give Claude that information? Why would you, ask it for that? What I can do is I can take that information that I get and I can then bring it to a meeting and start asking more intelligent questions. My goal to make me feel like I'm getting an ROI is to say, listen, I just saved us 5 minutes, 10 minutes in this meeting because I didn't have to ask the boring questions, the repetitive questions that I would have asked every single month because I just don't remember. For whatever reason, I have this problem remembering financial data. So then I can come to the meeting more prepared. I can get more out of it, but I could never ask my finance person to get the same thing out of it that I did because they already know the answer to that. So what are they going to use it for? When I try to bring some of these tools into my team, one of the things I do is, again, I speak from experience. I say, okay, this is how I use this from a sales standpoint. How am I going to research the top 5 nonprofits in Chicago that I want to talk to as a sales rep or as an account manager? I'm helping this nonprofit. They were 2 weeks out from their event, and I can ask our AI tool in our CRM to say, hey, what kind of questions have I not asked? What kind of questions can I ask this nonprofit? And how can I look at their event and get some more information? I'm using it as a tool to help me make better decisions. Now, again, let's go back to what I talked about with trustless. Nowhere in any of this should it be copy, paste into an email. I think what's happening, what I'm seeing is I can see an AI email, and that is like 100% turn off. If all I see is an email that somebody sent to me that looks like literally was generated with ChatGPT, I can see it from the M dashes. I can see it from the run-on sentences. The next sentence doesn't really make sense with the previous one. That's it. I'm out. So what I need from AI is to get me started. I put in my notes here, the Council of Ducks, what it does, what are we looking for value from AI? Is it reducing the amount of time? Can you remind me of this or can you do that? this council of ducks, software we call it that because, or rubber ducking is if I've got one of those plastic duck on my desk and I'm just talking to this duck with my problem, sometimes you can just solve your problem. You're talking to an inanimate object and you just get an answer. You're like, oh man, I'm so glad I just stopped and spoke out loud. It gave me an answer that I wasn't thinking about. We call that a council of ducks. It's because, a lot of times when you when you go on a chat or you call somebody up, it's the same thing. You start talking to them, they're just listening and you get the answer and they didn't really do anything. So AI can be really good at that. You can throw an idea at it and it will throw it back at you. Now, again, trustless is really important here because I've found that AI is going to tell me that this is a great idea, the best. It's just so good. In fact, I can help you make it better until AI starts being more honest. Like, hey, man, that was a terrible idea. You really should not do that. You have to really second guess what you're getting back, but it's extremely helpful because it's a little bit more than a rubber duck. It's giving you a response that you can then process and add to whatever it is you're doing. And so those can save you an awful lot of time chasing rabbit holes, not finding what you're looking for. It can bring you 5, 10, 15 minutes of saved time. So what I've found is, at the end of the day, just as a self-reflection, what did AI help me solve today that I couldn't have solved without it? And because I'm a software developer, there's projects that I could never have solved without the use of AI. I never would have even tried. It would have been a barrier to even pick up the project and start working on it. But because AI has the ability to just so happily go into the nuts and bolts and start to construct on your behalf, it's wonderful. And it gives you the chance to just experiment and explore new technology and things like that. So I would say that's something that I have found to be extremely helpful is to just look at the end of my day and say, how did AI help me today? And it also gives you a chance to say, okay, well, yeah, I could do that again tomorrow, or I could not do that tomorrow. I could do something else. And, that's for me personally, but when I'm helping advise my team, that is definitely something that is extremely helpful is to listen to the ways that people are using the tool and to not minimize, the simplest forms of AI, which is to ask a question, get a predicted answer. Is that saving time? Is that saving time in your day? Is it cutting down on the workload that you have? So yeah, I think hopefully that gave us a little bit of insight. I think in the early days when people start these podcasts, it's more for them than it is for the people that are probably not watching. But, my goal is to get some thoughts out there, to get some ideas out there, hopefully experiences so people can say, yeah, well, I'm not going to do that. That seems like a waste of time. So thanks, Matt, for helping me not go down that road. I'll see you guys down the road and talk soon.